Hey folks, Deano here again. This time taking another look at a Dragonball Figuarts. This is Mecha Frieza, also known as chopped liver to future Trunks. But then, yeah, this is Freeza, who was very short-lived upon his return to Earth to exact revenge on Goku. Yeah, he met quite the demise against the future Trunks when he first arrived. So yeah, a bit of a surprising release, to be honest. Not like Tamashii to make such an obscure character. Well, Frieza himself isn't obscure, but this form is kind of, because it barely lasted, what was it, 2 episodes before Trunks completely like done him in. But yeah, this release obviously finally arrived. Usual with official Tamashii products for the UK, they take forever to release here, so apologies, the review is a bit late. This was one that wasn't on special at AliExpress. I had pre-ordered this from Karibo, and it finally arrived alongside my other Cell Saga Gohan. So now I have 2, yay. But yeah, I don't know what to say about this guy, to be honest. I'll go more in depth once we get to the actual figure itself. But yeah, let's take a look at his box, shall we? So yeah, in terms of the box, it's just your standard Dragon Ball Figuarts packaging at this point. It's got, for some reason, a sort of violet tone to it, even though Frieza is mostly white and really deep purple, almost magenta. Bit strange, but I mean, whatever floats your boat, I suppose. Nice pictures on the side. The figure itself does look amazing, I have to admit. The promo images look almost identical to the actual figure, which is new. Usually the hand-painted prototypes don't look anywhere near as good, or they look a lot better than the actual releases. But yeah, we've got Mecha Frieza on the side. No subtitle this time, Tamashii. You were getting so used to putting bonkers subtitles and everything. The Godku one was just taking the cake, let's be honest. But yeah, I believe this was a premium Bandai exclusive, which explains the higher price for what basically amounts to a standard figure. But yeah, they're actually spelling it the English way, which, after all my years of looking at the Japanese spelling with FREEZA, it kind of looks wrong. Future Trunks from Team 4 Star, DBZ Abridged, said it best. Why is there an I in it? I call you Freeza. But yeah, the figure itself, designed by Tamashii Nations Japan, Bandai Spirits made in Vietnam. I am pleased to report that there isn't really any big differences. I've got a bit of a paint chip on one of the legs, unfortunately, but in terms of actual quality control, it's pretty decent. So yeah, some more pictures on the side, and on the back we have some promo images. These look washed out in the camera. They are actually washed out in person as well. I'm not sure what happened to this box. Like, the whites are really grey on the promo images on the box, but yeah, not really sure what happened there. We have recycle sticker, and I think it was Hio that imported this one, not Cosmic Toys. So yeah, all in all, decent box, standard Figuarts affair. So let's take a look at his accessories. So in terms of accessories, Frieza doesn't actually come with a whole lot, to be completely honest with you. He comes with 3 extra heads, because bald characters, you know the drill. They just give you the full head so that you don't have a seam line. Apart from Star Wars figures for some reason, but yeah. So he comes with this maniacal grin. You will notice two of the parts are missing. That's because, for whatever reason, Tamashii thought saving the 2 extra pence just to have like these 2 PCs missing was worth it, even though we're paying a premium for premium Bandai. Oh, God. But yeah, the extra PCs are on the head that comes with him. This sort of smirk, probably what I'm going to go with. But yeah, they come out easy enough. They slot in kind of easily, he says as he throws it across the room. But yeah, that one's almost a little bit too loose for my liking. And that one just pops out right there like that. So yeah, rest of the faces, he has a sort of really angry expression, even though his eyes are kind of blank on this figure, on this face rather, but yeah, still looks decent though. If you sort of angle it down the way, it looks quite menacing. And the last one is a sort of yelling face, which also doubles as, oh my god, I've just been sliced in half face, which you'll see with one of the accessories. It's the exact same expression, which leads me into like an entirely different complaint or argument that I've got. Yeah, in terms of hands, he comes with a pair of fists. Each fist, or each hand rather, has one skin tone and one metallic. So he's got a pair of fists. He has a pair of sort of grippy hand, which is new for Freeza. I don't believe we've gotten grippy hands before. So yeah, there's some really nice detail on the metal hands, I have to say. We have a pair of Key Blast splayed open hands. And finally, a pair of Deathbeam pointing hands, which again, the metallic painted ones have a lot of detail on them for how small these hands are. So yeah, and finally we get this brick. Yeah, everybody on YouTube so far has been praising this accessory. I will not. I don't really see the point in this, especially considering the fact that they expect you to take all the parts off of the actual figure to complete this. Like, we're already paying premium Bandai prices, Tamashii. Why give us a build-a-figure that we can't do without destroying the actual figure? Well, not destroying it, but making it completely undisplayable. Like, this should have just been, if you're going to pack it with the figure, just make it an entire figure. Like, a statue would not have been that much more expensive to make than just a floating torso. Like, I honestly do not see the point in this at all, because with this face, this one right here, this is the exact same expression, as you can see. Why? Like, we can literally get that Frieza into this pose quite easily. Like, the articulation is there. It's a Figuarts. Like, that's the whole point. I mean, the literal only difference between posing that one like this is that you don't have this slight sliced up seam line. Like, it's barely noticeable, and you can't split the figure apart as far as I'm aware. Like, it's definitely been glued together. Like, yeah, this this is completely pointless to me. Either give us a full figure or don't bother at all, in my opinion. But yeah, I'll just quickly show this with all the parts from that on it, just quickly to get it out of the way before it boils my blood anymore. And just like that, the figure itself is now in bits, and we have a useless statue for your shelf. Does it look cool once it's built? Yeah, sure, but we shouldn't have to take parts off the actual figure to be able to do this. It's a complete waste, considering the fact it's supposed to only have one pose. Like, you can't exactly have him posed with straight arms and legs. That just looks stupid. Like, what is that? So yeah, in future Tamashii, if you're going to do that, just give us the entire figure, or just don't bother. Like, the travesty of this is that instead of this, we could have got a smirking face for future Trunks, which he didn't come with. The most bonkers omission I've ever seen. Like, if it wasn't for Tone Start Toys and a couple of other third parties, we wouldn't be able to get a smirking face at all for future Trunks. Yeah, the fact that we get this hunk of plastic instead, just, it really grinds my gears, honestly. So yeah, let's move on to the figure now. So yeah, now that Frieza is fully built again, I will say the one bonus part of that is that the joints do pop off and go back on really well. Like a Vietnam factory figure that actually pops on and off easily without being too easy. Like, yeah, props to them for that. I really don't like the implementation, that's all. So yeah, in terms of details of the figure, it's actually really, really nice. Like, just right off the bat, it is so obvious that this figure is going to be remolded into a standard final form Frieza, or even a golden Frieza in the future, or even a black Frieza from the manga, if that ever comes to the anime. People who love the manga seem to forget that all these companies don't see it as canon until it comes to the anime. That's just how it is. That's how we haven't seen any game or any figure company really bother with Granola or any of those characters from the manga. So yeah, but going back to details, like, it's really good. There doesn't seem to be any sort of wash on the white, but the metallic silver that they've used for the mechanical parts is really nice. It really comes across as proper metal to me. Like I said, only issue I have with that is this nice scuff mark right there on his shin. That was like that right out the packaging. That's a bit disappointing, but apart from that, it's really nice. The greens pop, those brown parts pop. They are all painted really well within the lines. If they even are painted, they might actually all be separate pieces, which is surprising. This shoulder bit is definitely painted. But yeah, I mean, if it is painted, it's honestly perfectly done. So yeah, the blacks are a nice sort of semi-gloss, almost matte in contrast. The purples are a bit disappointing, like compared to previous Freezas, which I'll compare once we get to the end. Yeah, these are just gloss purple instead of the sort of metallic purple that they used to use, and even used on, what was it, last year's Final Form Frieza that they've reissued like 4 times now. But yeah, this is an entirely new mold. There's not a single bit being reused from that old one, which is actually a bit frustrating when we get to the articulation, because why is there a ball hinge in there? Why is that not just a a barbell joint. But yeah, the shoulders have caps now instead of just being his shoulders, which I think is a bit over-engineered. Like, I never really had a problem with the shoulders having a visible hinge. Yeah, it makes him look a bit more bulky at the shoulders. But yeah, don't really think it was necessary. I mean, I'm glad they've done it, but yeah. But overall, in terms of paint apps and details, really nice. I do really like that. Taking a look at articulation, he does have quite a lot. He's basically a 3.0 with some added extras on top. So he can look up that far. He can touch his chest, so he can look down really far. Even though it's just a ball hinge up there, we still get quite a lot of range out of him, which is really good. You just have to make sure that barbell joint is, or that ball hinge is in the right place, or you won't be looking forward or back very well. Shoulders, that cap piece gets out the way perfectly. It does look a little bit odd. Like, you wouldn't have this issue where it looks as if it's sort of floating above him. If it was just on his shoulder instead of being a cap piece. But yeah. Overall, it doesn't impede movement any, so you can swivel. He has a butterfly joint, which can get that far, because he's got sort of bulky pecs at the top. Does kind of get in the way, so without using the butterfly joint, it can get that far. Using it, you can get slightly more. Bicep swivel, double joint at the elbow, which for some reason mine pops back every time I use the full amount. That's annoying. Ball hinge at the wrist. Be careful. These pegs are, well, they're quite thick for how small the figure is. So I would still be careful though. Make sure they don't break. He has a little bit of movement at the chest. This moves the same way as the old one. There's a bit of an indent here. So just using that, he can't really go forward or back much. But yeah, most of the movement is actually in his waist, which gets a whole lot of movement. You get a bit of a swivel as well. And yeah, quite good so far. His legs, be careful of these caps on the edge. As long as you get those out the way. Oh, there we go. Lovely. That's how the legs come apart, if anyone was wondering. So yeah, with those cap pieces, that's as far as he can do the splits with. He does have a solid butt flap, so that's as far back as he's getting. Because of that ball joint, you do get a little bit of range, but it's not the actual hip joint that's doing it. Forward, you can get about that far. Now, the wondrous thing about this is that they're using 3.0 joints with 1.0 pull downs. I've never seen that before except on bootlegs. So yeah, you can, I mean, it doesn't really do a whole lot. It kind of kicks out more, but I mean, it's there. The fact that they're going back to that old joint is hilarious to me. Thigh rotation, double joint at the knee, gets really good range. Ball hinge at the foot, can go back that far, forward that far, and nice ankle rocker right there. Just be careful that ball hinge doesn't get out of alignment, or you'll be spending an eternity trying to get it back in place. And the tail, which is the most useless articulated piece I have seen. Like, the original Freeza, the tail just went straight into his backside. I'm not sure why we now have to have an extension piece first. But yeah, because it's pre-molded in a certain position, you only really get forward and back. You can twist the hinge and get a bit more movement up and down, but you are completely stuck because of this moulding. So yeah, you get out of alignment, that is not going to look right at all. So yeah, they would have been as well just giving us one full tail. Another joint here, which I think is just another ball hinge. So, well, you can swivel it and such. It has that design, so you can't really do a whole lot with it, which is a bummer because following that design, it's basically stuck like that and makes him back heavy. So yeah. So final thing is for comparisons. So this is him with the de facto Freeza on my shelf. I believe this is the Resurrection, no, not the Resurrection F, the Tournament of Power version that they released with the halo that you could remove. I think literally the only difference between the old Freeza, this one, and the Namek Saga one that they released is really just the paint apps and the face printing. But I like this one the best because of the blue highlights on his body. But yeah, you can see the new one is slightly taller than the old one, which is strange, to be sure. But yeah, you can see the shoulders look a lot bulkier because this one just has the joint visible, which, I mean, might annoy some people, but I don't see a problem with it at all. But yeah, while this guy is good, his hips are the 1.0 style, which is bonkers to me that they have never updated this guy. He's good, but this just shows that they could have updated him and made him look far better than what he is. But yeah, in terms of like which figure to go for, if you just want a Freeza on your shelf, this guy is probably still quite affordable and cheap, but I am holding out hope for a remold of this one. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think down in the comments. If I can find an AliExpress listing for Freeza, I will put it in the description, but if not, then I'm afraid you are out of luck there. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think down in the comments, and I'll see y'all later.